really cool to talk about your best and worst experiences during a vacation scheme. If you don't know about me and my content, I am a trainee solicitor working for a UK top 20 law firm. I'm currently on secondment at the moment in my third seat, and I create content for aspiring lawyers, I create content for current trainee solicitors, I talk about career, I talk about productivity, and all of that other fun stuff, but also vlog elements of my life along the way as well. This video will be really useful to those of you who want to apply to vacation schemes or currently have one coming up. I understand that I've posted this video a little bit late into summer, so I'm sorry if some of you have already done your vacation scheme already. I was supposed to post this video and film it 2 weeks ago, so let me just talk straight away first of all actually about my worst experience. Well, there are two bad experiences that I had on a vacation scheme. I was like an observer in the situation, so it was something that happened to someone else or something that someone else had done on the vacation scheme. And it was just wild and probably the worst experience because I think it reflected badly on the whole cohort. Even those like me who weren't involved, I think it ended up affecting the image of all of us because of what had happened. But because it concerned other people, I just don't feel comfortable talking about it on just for the sake of a YouTube video. I don't think it's fair on those individuals, especially because it happened like maybe 4 years ago now. So I would say personally, I think the worst experience that I've had on a vacation scheme is, I've had difficult questions for the training contract interview, but I'd say I think the moment where I think about, okay, what is exactly the worst moment? And it makes me wish that the ground swallowed me up, is during a vacation scheme. It was the first vacation scheme I'd done. By the way, I've done 3 vacation schemes. We were doing a mock bail trial or bail assessment or something, and essentially the people who were interviewing me for that or acting like the other party that I was advocating to, they were the people that I was currently assigned to in the seat. So I was quite comfortable with them. I was quite pally with them as well. One of them was my supervisor. And I felt like because they were interviewing me for this, I felt like I could be a bit more relaxed. Obviously that wasn't the case, because imagine in this mock like bail assessment thing, I was cracking jokes. They asked me something like a figure of how much is it for bail? And I just kind of like, I didn't have a poker face. I was just like, what? Like, okay, 10,000? Like I said it like that. Instead of actually being like, okay, this is a question that I don't know, let me just say 10,000. It was just little things like that, and it did come back in my feedback, and it actually led to the whole overall assumption that they just felt like I wasn't mature enough to be a trainee yet, essentially. Now that was my worst experience. I think I'd say my best experience during a vacation scheme was my interview that I had at the firm that I'm currently training at now. Because albeit one of the questions I was asked was really difficult, the rest of the interview, it just felt like a really, really wholesome, fulfilling conversation. It was just really nice to talk about things like diversity, talk about inclusion, things that I'm really passionate about and I'm really interested in. There was also one moment during another vacation scheme where it wasn't really planned that the Vac schemers would attend this, but essentially we were told to go to this impromptu networking session about how to network, and they were asking all of the solicitors and the partners all these questions about networking, and I don't think it was really expected for Vac schemers to put their hand up and answer any questions. I think it was mainly towards like the main fee earners in the firm. But there was one question that was asked and I knew the answer to it, and I think I knew I was right at that time, so I just put my hand up, and I was the only Vac schemer at that moment who put their hand up to answer a question. And I remember everyone just looking at me like, why are you putting your hand up to answer this question for? Like, it was mainly aimed towards like the fee earners to answer. The person hosting the session welcomed my thoughts and actually said in front of everyone that that is an absolutely perfect answer. And I was like, well, thank God for that. I'm actually really glad that I put my hand up to volunteer to answer that question. And I think it really reflected well on my feedback as well. So that's another thing as well. I think from those experiences, I can kind of say that I was really glad that I was, I guess, a go-getter in that sense. And that's kind of what you got to be on a vacation scheme. You kind of got to let go of that fear of how people are going to perceive me. Am I going to look like a massive geek? And you just got to just do it. Okay, so now it's time to react to some of your best and your worst experiences. Let's actually start off with the good news, the best first, and then we'll move on to the worst. So the best experience is attending the firm's summer party after a long fat day working. You know what? Firms throw out some really, really good parties, especially during vacation scheme weeks. But I'd say generally as well, like some firms have such a massive like grand affair with it, and it's so fun to attend. Actually links into one of my best moments was playing bounce pong. I think it's bounce ping pong or something, or somewhere in Shoreditch. And we had so much fun. I went to Junkyard Golf as well for another social at the vacation scheme for another firm. That was so much fun too. Another best experience is being offered to sit in on a meeting and spoke to the vice president of a multinational company. You know what, it's experiences like that where I think firms do really well sometimes in ensuring that even though you're a vacation scheme student, it's really important for you to gain exposure to these kind of things, because it's those elements that make you feel really, really fulfilled in your job. And the fact that your firm has given you that opportunity, massive props. Another one similar to the one that I last mentioned was presenting a client pitch to several fee earners and getting great feedback. These kind of things as well, like allowing vacation scheme students to understand how law firms operate as a business as well in respect to doing client pitches is so important. I think it gives you a really great insight really early on in your career that the role of a lawyer is not only just providing legal advice. Eventually, as you progress through the ranks, you will be expected to bring in business for the firm as well. So those were some of the best ones. I know some of these comments were so funny because people had mentioned that, you know, I don't even have one, I've not even secured one to tell a story about it and stuff like that. But don't worry, you will get there. Honestly, that humour was so jokes though when I received those kind of messages like, sis, I wish I could tell you, but I've not secured one yet. Let's move on to the worst experiences, because I felt like there was a lot more people sharing their worst experiences than the best ones. This individual told me that the whole team was on holiday, didn't get any work, and the supervisor only spoke to this person twice. So that's not that great if I'm honest with you. Of course, the whole team being on holiday, that's not really great planning. If the whole team was on holiday, then maybe you shouldn't have been assigned that team. Maybe you should have been assigned to another team where more people would have been in. In those situations where you've not got enough work, this person probably already did this, but trying to raise that as an issue with your HR, like ensuring that it's in writing, so people know that you've not had enough work, you've not had enough exposure on your vacation scheme is really important. Continuing on from that, another worst experience was the supervisor took this person out for lunch and said that they were only doing it so she could expense her food. Yeah, not really a great look. Like, of course, like it's kind of obvious that you do get to expense your food back, but only saying it, the only reason why you're doing and having lunch with this person is so you can expense it afterwards. Where are your manners? How can you say that? That's a bit rude. That's a bit rude. And again, the same person, I think this is all within the same firm, so this is hella juicy stuff. But this person was told to work for a different team, understandably, because the current team she was assigned wasn't assigning her any work. And then she was rejected from the training contract because she worked for a different team. So that's so unfair, because she was assigned a different team because her original team wasn't given enough work. And then she was rejected because she did work for another team. Make it make sense. That's just mad. The audacity. And conveniently, this person, good on this person, and I give you massive props for this. They actually investigated this whole situation and they got £5,600 from the firm for expenses. You know what? I mean, you do get paid on vacation schemes, but £5,600, that is a lot of money. So, you know what? Good on you for investigating it. And I think it just goes to show in these situations, it's good to have a paper trail. You've got that written proof there of you trying to seek more work, being told to be assigned to another team, all these different things. Having that paper trail is just so useful. Someone said that they were essentially saying the quality of the keyboards was crap in the firm, and she thought she was saying it to another candidate, but it was actually a paralegal there. That is so awkward. From the situation, it's safe to say that if you've got any negative opinions about the firm, just keep them to yourself, not even talk about it to other candidates, because some candidates can actually be quite snaky as well. This person, another worst experience is accidentally knocking a glass of water at the virtual exit interview. Oh man, yeah, I mean, at least it was virtual and not in the actual interview itself. From this, I think it's important to say that if there is anything around you that could distract you or could potentially lead to any spillage, then just move it out the way and make sure that everything is just a danger-free zone. Accidentally deleting my whole group's day worth of work. Oh, this is the worst feeling. it's like that heart-sinking feeling that you get, and I recently had that actually. I thought I deleted something that was really important, but thankfully it was saved. The previous version was saved and I was able to just work from that one. But this is why I think it's really important to maybe save backup copies of important pieces of information. But yeah, now sorry, that one's pretty peak. I hope you've recovered from that. The next one, nervously playing with my necklace throughout the entire end interview and it shattered to pieces. Oh, yeah, you know what? It's those certain things that you sometimes end up doing, mannerisms or habits or fidgeting that you do in nervous situations. And I think if you record yourself in an interview when you're like speaking, obviously the way you actually act in an interview compared to when you're recording it will be completely different. But just keep an eye out for those little things that you do when you are speaking. So I've got quite a few speaking habits, like I say or you know what. So by recording myself, I'm able to pick up on that and maybe focus to this person in particular to try and use more hand gestures. So then your hands are over here instead of over here and near your necklace is. I hope it was an expensive necklace and I hope you managed to get a nice replacement one. This person got 0 feedback from the training partner, having got to the final 2 candidates. And then this person completely ignoring the candidate's really polite follow-up emails for feedback. But then this partner then stalks her continuously on LinkedIn. Yeah, that's a bit strange. Oh, this one is bad. The firm forgot to prepay for the meal and we were left with £1,000 plus bill to pay around 10-11 p.m. I want to know how you got out of that situation, girl. You know what, in that situation I would have been like, alright guys, you know, it's past my bedtime, like I've got something emergency, I got a dip. Or I'll probably not even tell anyone I'm dipping, I'll just dip, like that's it. That bill is not going on my head. I am not spending my money to pay that and then wait like 10 years for expenses to pay it back to me. Nah, if I was in that situation, I'd be gone. Sorry, but all man for himself. Oh, during a presentation, I struggled to say a word, not once, twice, but 4 times in front of 2 partners. Honestly, these things happen and I really, really hope interviewers understand that people do get nervous and there are certain words sometimes that just tend to be quite difficult to say. So this is the worst experience for someone. They hit their first ever 100 in cricket. That's probably a best experience that can happen before a vacation scheme. And that was on a Saturday, but then they went out afterwards, obviously, to celebrate and found themselves in an Uber home at 7 a.m. on Sunday morning. Slept all of Sunday, no prep, massive 2-day hangover on the Monday. Oh no. And then was asked in the first presentation to name American states and he could barely see the screen. I mean, I hope this is a virtual vacation scheme because I think it would be really, like a lot easier to get away with that than being an in-person vacation scheme. That is hilarious. You know what, major legend points go to you for that one. And then the last one is having to wait 6 months to find out whether I'd converted it to a TC. So, you know what, this is quite jarring, I think. You've given your time. So I think certain firms, the most they can do is actually at least respond and respect the fact that you've given your time and provide feedback in a timely manner. Now, I've been quite fortunate in the firms that I've had vacation schemes with, but also a lot of other people that I've had experiences with. Usually firms do tend to give feedback after vacation schemes quite quickly, but having to wait 6 months, yeah, that's half a year. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully, I think the main point of it was, after sharing my own experiences and sharing people's experiences, you can have a few more takeaways about some do's and don'ts or what to expect during a vacation scheme. If you've got one coming up soon, good luck. I hope it goes well. I've got a few other videos about vacation schemes. I think my favorite one is do's and don'ts during vacation schemes, so do feel free to check that out. I'll provide the link somewhere above. But thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next video.